Hey guys, it's Shawn, just taking a special moment out from the ordinary intro for a special intro, given that our hero, my hero, Anthony Bourdain, gave his last episode this past week, and again, just a special nod of the head, tip of the hat to the legacy that is yours, Tony. We love you, we miss you, and we'll keep the torch burning brightly, brother. See you soon.
You can't put your arm around a man like Ray. You can't put your arm around a man like Ray. You can't put your arm around a man like Ray. Don't try. Don't try.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. This is episode number 87 of the Coarse Grind Podcast with you this evening. As always, host, creator, and beer aficionado Shawn Rosler. How is everyone doing this fine evening? You know, as favorite places go, and I get asked that a lot, I think you have to be a little more specific with that. For me, rein me in a little, if you will. Geographically, these places are more varied as really any response to a question could be. But really, for most people, it's usually some far-off place. One, I don't know, say maybe from a vacation from a long time ago that you have distant yet fond memories of. Or maybe one that's not around anymore, you know, it's gone on to greater places. Pangs of nostalgia fan those flames of favoritism. Well, for anyone who knows me, you know my response to most questions tends to never follow suit, and this is certainly no different. Yes, one of my favorite places in the world in which I live, and that's a big range to work on there, is but a quarter mile or so away from my front door. And I'm fortunate to have spent some time and arranged to chat with the very culinary soul behind it all here this evening. From dishwasher to prep cook, front of the house to back, this evening's guest has quite literally done it all, and what's even more impressive, sans professional training. Eat here, trust me, it's a big goddamn deal. Hired in 1995 at the Inn at Turkey Hill, our guest rose from sous chef to co-exec within the span of 5 short years. From there, he graduated to front of the house as restaurant banquet manager, putting deep effort into a quality wine list that would win them the Wine Spectator Award of Excellence 7 years in a row. Cup of success overflowing, he added to this with his twin girls Tegan and Piper in 2008, and, as we all do right about at that time, realized time could be better spent. About this time, an old bank barn gave way to another Turkey Hill standard, the Brewing Company, of which our guest was the manager for its first 5 years of operation. Fall 2015 would find the inn losing its executive chef, and it was then that our guest would resume the helm and masterfully create, and in some cases recreate, mastery the likes of which I've not found its equal to with the Farmhouse's menu. He's brought back basics with an eye towards evolution. The menu uses wine pairing as one of its many stylistic pillars, and there's even a nod towards small plate tapas culture, a definite shot in the arm for the area. Forging relationships with local farmers, cheesemakers, and reading more cookbooks than ever, this is one I've been looking to for a very, very long time. So let's get down to it, ladies and gentlemen, and everyone in between. Our guest this evening, the culinary heart, mind, and soul behind all things Turkey Hill, here in our dear old Bloomsburg, Chef Jim Hahn. Jim, how's it going, buddy?
Doing well. How are you?
I am excellent, sir. I know you have been a busy, busy bee, and heading into Thanksgiving, it's looking like that's not letting up for anything Turkey Hill-wise, is it?
No, it's not. It's Turkey Day. I mean,
that's right.
Turkey Hill. I mean, we have to live up to that standard.
You put the turkey on the hill, you've got the Turkey Hill. And let's be honest, Who the hell wants to cook right up into the very day that everyone has to cook? So, you know, that's definitely great. And again, folks, I know I do a lot of shows about, you know, things not around this area, and I know a good saturation of the listener base is right here in Bloomsburg. But for those of you, like, in the surrounding areas, those of you who maybe want to make a day trip out of it all, before we even tuck into an interview, listen to me. Listen to me deeply and purely. Turkey Hill in Bloomsburg, either offering, whether it be the Brewing Company or the Farmhouse, your mind's going to be blown. Having just eaten there not too terribly long ago, actually, Jim, it is simply astounding that this treasure, this tucked-in little pearl, is right here in our area. And you should, before we even ask a single question, look at this, I'm gushing more for this guy a quarter mile from me than anybody else. But it is pure mastery, what you're doing there, and I can't wait to tuck into it. I really can't. So excited that I was able to pull you away from your kitchen there at the farmhouse, and can't wait to hear every little thing about you. So without further ado, folks new to the program, folks with terrible short-term memories, starters, mains, and afters, the 3 qualifications of questions. Starters, we talk about where the chef or guest is from, what brought them to where they're at, mains, where they're at presently, and finally afters, a little bit more irreverent, a little bit more off the cuff, but no one's ever been injured in 86 episodes. Don't see it happening tonight, but no promises, Jim. So without further ado, tell me about where and what you grew up eating.
What I grew up eating, man, pasta. I mean, I was a latchkey kid. Like, I went home after school, and if I didn't cook for myself, I wasn't eating. So I learned pasta, and sauces, and adding things to sauces, and making a good tomato sauce, and all that stuff.
Awesome.
And it just, drew me towards restaurant work.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And what's funny there is I never really think about it like that, but I was very much a latchkey kid. Both my parents worked for the state, and they worked till 5, and you got home, and it's like, well, shit, what do you want to eat? What are you going to put in your...
Yeah.
And I think in a weird way, I don't think you think about it at the time, because that's just your normal, and everyone's normal is relative, but it's funny how, that kind of propels certainly you forward towards a culinary level that very few have reached in my opinion. So that's awesome. What aside from the pasta that you made yourself as said latchkey kid, talk to me about what kind of eater you were as a kid. I know there's this gamut that we run, and I know you've got 2 wonderful, beautiful girls. I've got 3 boys. We were bemoaning the stories back and forth about bedtime prior to recording. Talk to me about what kind of eater you were as a kid.
As a kid, I ate what was put in front of me, really. Being from this area, there was a lot of Polish and German influence. A lot of sauerkraut, a lot of cabbage, a lot of overcooked meat.
Oh, God, yes.
Which I've, learned to have much disdain for. But that kind of thing kind of made me want to make it better. I wanted to enjoy it. So, something as simple as, a lot of people around here eat stuffed cabbage, which they'll call blind pigeons.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, that stuff is awesome.
Yeah.
Halushki, that stuff is great.
Oh, my God. Yeah.
It could be so much better.
That's so true. That's really, really true. And you strike it right on the head there. These classics that we grow up with. Now, I was Northeast PA, so there's a little bit more of the Polish, a little bit less. But, yeah, man, stuffed cabbage, that kind of thing, blind pigeons, got it, pigs in the blanket, if you will. But like you said, and what's funny is now that I'm kind of in this space, and I'm sure you've done magical things with them, like stuffed cabbage, if you take the time to, say, blanch the cabbage as opposed to just, I'm going to shove it in a pot, cook it for 3 hours and not look at it, it's a whole different ballgame. So, like, what do you do personally as this culinary dynamo that I pay out my nose to eat in your restaurant, and I love it. I really do. Something as simple, and I hate to even use that word with food, but like stuffed cabbage, what do you do with it that makes it better?
I mean, we don't do stuffed cabbage at the end, but however, if I were to, I would, the beef is, I would want to use I would put, onion, celery, and cabbage, or onion, celery, and carrots in with my beef. Just make it a little bit more flavorful. The tomato sauce, instead of just a regular marinara, let's cook some tomatoes down and use local tomatoes, heirloom tomatoes, and make that a little bit better.
So let me sidestep, and like all of these are things that make total, beautiful, magical sense to me, and these are things that I've employed in similar dishes because, that's the nature, the better ingredients you use.
Right.
What do you say to people, Jim, when they say, well, who gives a shit? Like, what's the difference? What's it going to matter? What comes out of it?
The experience. I mean, I don't know. To me, like, food's more of an experience than it is something you have to do. Like, we have to eat 3 meals a day.
Yes.
But, like, at least one of those meals be an experience instead of just something you have to do. Like,
yeah.
I mean, to me, food's more of a art form than it is mandatory.
Yes. Yes.
I probably don't eat right as a person, but when I do eat, I enjoy what I do. I enjoy eating that.
Yeah.
Because I put time into it.
Yeah, and it's so true. There's so many people that will ask me as just a host. I mean, never mind the people actually doing it. Why do you care? Why do you get so strung up about it? And then I will, in some cases, they'll come and eat in my home where I do give a shit about it. Prime example here, if you remember Seasons, Gary Vatican, we became real tight good friends with Gary and Michael. And about 2 years into the show, actually, we had Gary and Mike over. And I made chicken piccata. And I would typically slave over a stove. Do not get me wrong, I typically would. Let's just say I took an extra hour or so over that stove, making sure everything was in tune. But when you sit down to that, and you speak to a very important point there, experience, as almost like the sixth taste sense. Do you know what I mean? Like that's ambiance and everything like that. And that's why your dining room there at Turkey Hill, I mean, Christ, you could sit in that room and probably soak in about 200 calories just in environment alone. It really is remarkable. So that's so cool to hear. And I know, as I've spoken to so many folks who are in this space, I think there's this like almost default educator's heart where part of what you put on a plate, and correct me if I'm wrong, Jim, is trying to give a lesson to everybody, taking each forkful or spoonful, to let them know like quality matters.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you want people to, experience different flavors and different tastes and different styles of cooking. We marinate a lot of our foods, and I think that gives another level of flavor to people that, people might buy lamb racks and not marinate them, and they're going to taste totally different at my restaurant because, we take the time to really think about what's going to lend itself well to that lamb. And for us, it's red wine vinegar, it's rosemary, it's salt, it's pepper, it's, the right olive oil, I agree. Like,
that's awesome.
There's a lot that people can learn from our restaurant.
Yeah. I honestly, I would love to have like an This is so far off my typical script already. I love this. I would love to have a kitchen. I know there's kitchens now that are open and everything, but I'd love them to almost be like an operating theater where guests, while they're waiting, could actually walk up to a glass like on a second floor and watch it go, because I think there's a certain density between the ears in the dining public, and I love you all dearly. I'm part of it. Don't get me wrong. But I've done my homework, and I understand what goes on, and I've cooked, I've done service since starting the show, so I have a little credit there. I think there's so much they could learn by watching the effort that goes into just a sauce alone. I like dipping my meat in this sauce. Oh, it doesn't come out of a jar? No shit, it doesn't come out of a jar. Like, stop.
I personally, I love the open kitchens when I go out to eat. However,
you're glad you don't have one?
I'm glad I don't have one. I mean, we've all heard of kitchen mouth.
Yes.
So, I don't know. I mean, I say things sometimes that are probably inappropriate for our diners. I don't know if I enjoy them watching me.
Well, then they need to get the hell over themselves. Anyway, all right.
Exactly.
So I'm gonna big arms rope it back into format here, and we'll touch on that kitchen mouth here in a while. Going back to childhood, latchkey kid doing the pasta thing, eating whatever's put in front of you. Talk to me about any kind of family meals, anything like that, and any foods from your childhood that really speak to your bones, like nostalgic pangs of memory foods that you want to go back to.
That's rough. I mean, the stuffed cabbage is, for some reason, that sticks out in my head.
Yeah.
I had that a lot. Other than that, like, homemade chicken noodle soup was a big thing.
Now, how homemade is homemade? Because, like, my mom did a boxed set of noodles, but did everything else fresh. Like, are you talking about making the pasta fresh, too?
No, not
Good.
that far.
All right.
They were, pre-bought egg noodles, but she would roast the chicken.
Beautiful.
Pull the chicken,
Mm-hmm.
and it was on the stove all day long. That kind of time and effort, like, really stood out to me, to the point where, like, I love doing braised dishes and things now.
Oh.
It's my favorite thing to do.
Beautiful.
Slow cooking.
Yeah, and I mean, braising is such an underutilized technique, wouldn't you say?
I would, yeah. At most restaurants, yes. We have a couple braised dishes on our menu right now. We do a lamb shank that is just incredible. One of our best sellers. It's a 1 pound lamb shank, Frenched, on the bone, but it just, falls off the bone. It's amazing. We do it with apricot brandy, dried apricots, and root vegetables. It's so good.
Yeah, and I mean, folks listening, let me as the layperson, because I know Jim would talk circles around me, so I'll do the basic 101, and Jim, please clean up after me, if you will. Braising-wise, there's really nothing better to do on, like, a cold, especially as we head, past fall into winter. We did a barley wine braised, I want to say short rib, actually. I'm not sure if it was a short rib or some other cut. But it was barley wine, blueberries, and I mean, it was just stupid. It was an all-day effort, but at the end of the day, you don't need to chew. I could have had dentures, popped them out at that point, and just gummed it. We would have been solid. It was so flavorful, so concentrated, so, not boozy, but boozy. Like, the boozy meat and braising goes hand in hand. So slow down a little bit. Appreciate what you're putting in your mouth. Like, Folks need to realize, it's going through you. It's going into you. Take your time and enjoy what you're eating. And that lamb shank just sounds ridiculous. And you said there was another braised dish?
We do, so we have a local farm, Clee Farms, in Buckhorn, that we get chicken from. It's free-range organic chicken, and we've been doing cacciatore, which is a traditional, Italian simple. It's a hunter's stew for the most part.
Yep.
And we braise it. It's usually a thigh and part of a breast, and we braise it with peppers and onions and stuff. And that stuff is just, there's a thing like in my kitchen. I try to tell my sous chefs, we want meat butter.
Yes. Woo!
Like, we want it to be meat butter. That's what we want. We want it to just fall apart and just melt in your mouth. And this stuff, like braising, is how you do that. Like, it's just perfect.
I love it. I love it. Absolutely. Absolutely. So, yeah, that slow stuff from childhood, always seems to ring true. Going back to childhood then, obviously you landed in this space, in this field, and it's been spectacular for you. Who would you say, if anybody for that matter, because it sounds like you're pretty self-made, was your greatest culinary influence?
Charlie Charter.
Nice.
Charlie Charter from Chicago was, probably my first cookbook that I ever really looked at with any serious intent. The life that he led and the way that he cooked, and he was self-taught also.
Hell yeah.
I really admired him. I don't know. I mean, through the 90s, maybe a little bit of Emerald until he got to, sensational.
Right. Right. No. But to be absolutely fair, people shit on Emerald left and right, and I know Bourdain did, and I think you and I actually spoke on Bourdain when we first met in person there, but even Bourdain had him on his show to be like, look, I'm sorry, I fucked up, like this is not what I wanted to do with you. And Emerald was cool about it. He's like, look, I understand what happened, but like people have to realize you don't get there without having a massive set of culinary chops.
Exactly. And like his cookbooks, I mean, amazing. You can't go wrong.
You can't go wrong, and they truly are. I'm going to use this term, and I don't mean it, because like I'd look at it, I'd use a recipe out of his book. They're idiot proof because they're written well, and I don't say simply they're written well. Just write it well so that folks can access it. I think so often we try to complicate maybe the art of cooking because we're protective. Like, hey, I'm good at this. You lay people better not try to spatchcock a bird, and I just try to fit the word spatchcock into every sentence I can. But it's that simple. Like just appreciate it for what it is. And Emerald was very good. And I think you said Bourdain there in that sentence.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yep. And oof.
Yeah. I mean, reading Kitchen Confidential changed my life.
Yeah.
Because I could relate.
Yeah.
And I realized that what I was doing wasn't for nothing. It was, it was legit what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, it was, I spent a summer as a line cook in Captain Jack's, and since you're local, you'll appreciate that name.
Yeah.
And boy, did I appreciate that book then, because I looked at what was going on. I'm like, holy shit, this is really a thing. And so Beth, if this is one that you're listening to, Jim really appreciates you. So there you go. That's awesome. That's awesome. And honest to God, I'm trying to get Beth and her family over here so I can cook for her. And you hear that? It's actually an on-air challenge, Beth. There you go. It's been dealt. So we'll get you over here and we'll have Jim cook for you too, because you will not be. You'll be disappointed by me, not by Jim. So talk to me about when you knew, Jim, that like this was it? This was where you were going to do your thing.
Oh my gosh. Well, I had moved out west and living in Arizona, and wasn't sure what I was going to do. I was like not even 20 yet. Not sure what I was going to do. I was already working in restaurants. I already cooked a little bit at like, like the Perkins and places like that. And I don't know. I got a job at a nice little fine dining restaurant, and I had a guy who was willing to show me how to do things, and I realized I could do it, and that was it. I mean,
awesome.
I just realized I could do it.
That's awesome. And listen, do it you can. I mean, I'm living proof. Again, I say quarter mile, probably more like a half mile, but up the road.
Yeah.
And if you are in Bloomsburg, if you are thinking about coming to Bloomsburg and you've got a good month advance on it, get on the phone, 570-387-1500, if I remember it correctly, and get on the phone and reserve a damn table at the farmhouse. It is truly some of the best fine dining I've ever sat down to. It doesn't totally make sense to be in Bloom. I get it, Geysinger's close, the university's close, but truly the level to which you operate on, Jim, is something of wonder, I think maybe is the best word for it. So extremely well done. And looking up and down that menu, and it changes from time to time. Great staples that are there, great variety that's there. Looking at the present state now, talk to me about where it is you pull from to get that. I know that you had mentioned getting back to basics, but where are basics? What is it you're trying to call up to?
Well, right now what we're doing is trying to we do two features each night, and we kind of go out there with our features sometimes, and we try to see what works and what doesn't work. We're in the middle of Pennsylvania, but it seems like people love fresh fish, and it's something we can do. Weirdly, like we're able to get fish that was caught yesterday here tomorrow. And I mean, that's great if you can sustain that,
Right.
So somehow we've been able to do that lately. We've been doing things like blue marlin and some real weird fish, like that really you shouldn't be able to get in the middle of Pennsylvania, but somehow we're getting it. It's fresh. It's beautiful.
You mean there's not marlin in the Susquehanna, Jim? What?
Pardon me?
There's no blue marlin in the Susquehanna?
No, not anymore.
Damn it. It got fished out. Never mind.
But stuff like that. Like we've been trying to really up our seafood game, because locally there isn't really much available in that area. There are a lot of great restaurants in Bloomsburg, but as far as seafood goes, there's not a great seafood restaurant around here. So we've been trying to focus more on that. I don't know where we're going. We would like to use more local product, which is hard. But we're working on it.
Yeah.
We'll get there.
Yeah, and talk to me real quick for those of you that missed the Saturday AM broadcast from the parking lot of the Brewing Company. You folks, during warmer weather, obviously we're not doing it now, plug in with a number of food trucks, Farmer Moofy's produce, just to kind of almost have a pseudo farmers market / beer tasting / food truck festival in your parking lot.
Right. It's awesome. I mean, I try to not work on Saturday so I can go to it. But Farmer Moofy is great. Like he brings in a lot of great produce. They grow it right in the field there. Next year he's going to be doing microgreens for me. He's just a great guy. His name's Brian Crawford. He's not really Moofy.
Again, hey, listen, if I'm going to get some hits, let me get them here. If you want to hear the story of Moofy and the name, go back and listen a couple episodes earlier.
There you go. But he's great. I mean, he's willing to do he'll plant whatever we want. Like, we used fresh kale from, 100 yards away all summer, which was awesome.
It's amazing.
It was just great stuff. Tomatoes, everything. Everything we used all summer was from there. And like you said, it's hard this time of year. We're a little bit limited as to what we can get locally. But we're still using local cheese and local chicken as much as we possibly can.
It's awesome. That's awesome. And, speaking of that local sourcing, I know culinarily, trends tend to drive a good amount of what we do in the food industry. And I know farm to table is a significant trend.
Sure.
Talk to me about what you feel is going to be maybe the next big trend. I mean, safe to say that farm to table is already a trend. Is there something coming up that we as the dining public should be watching for?
Gosh, I don't know. If it were me, I would hope that it would be more food that people can pair with wine. I think wine, I think there's over 100 wineries in Pennsylvania now.
Yep.
We have New York State Finger Lakes wines.
Yep.
Wine is a very important component of food. And I think, if anything, people are going to, micro it and get more into things that they can eat with wine.
Love it. I mean, technically, Jim, honestly, I can eat crackers with wine and I'm good. So, I mean, does that work for you, or is that what you're talking about?
Kinda.
All right, sure. Fair enough.
But, but also, there's, you can do short rib and find a wine that goes perfectly with it.
You can literally... What was the movie? All right, here we go. Here's wild tangent. What was the movie where the guys go out west? City Slickers. And there was... It was the guy... What did he do? He paired wines with ice cream, wasn't it? Or something like that? I forget. You can literally pair... You can at least accent anything with wine. I'm with you there, Jim. I think you absolutely can. And honestly, I was looking into doing my Cicerone, because beer, especially now, Turkey Hill Brewing, I think beer pairing is a massively underutilized field. And so, instead of looking at it as this, well, I'm just going to have it because I want it, put some thought into what you pair with that meal, with that short rib, with, that's been reduced and braised in barley wine with blueberry, perhaps.
I mean, at the pub we do a beer pairing menu every New Year's Eve. We're not actually open; you have to buy tickets to it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a beer pairing dinner on New Year's Eve, and we do it early. So it's usually over by 9:30 or so people can drive home.
Yeah.
But it's beer pairing, wine pairing. It's where it's at, and I hope continues.
That's it. That's it. It shouldn't just be
great interest in it.
Yeah. And I know, Jim, when we first touched base over the summer, I know there was some mention of it, that there was going to be a package there at the inn, as far as like staying over a Brewers Weekend, was it?
Yes. Yep. That's in full swing.
Oh, cool. Can you talk to me about that?
Great Christmas gift.
Oh.
So it's a package. Check our website, innerturkeyhill.com. It's the Brewers Weekend. So what happens is on Friday on Saturday you brew with the brewer, and then that evening they would have already brewed this beer, but at the Farmhouse restaurant, my restaurant, we would have a beer pairing dinner where, it's a set menu, and we're pairing foods with different beers, and one of them would be the beer that they had brewed. Mm-hmm. And then the next morning, breakfast, and then you get to move the beer over into the serving tank and do all that stuff, and you get to go home with the growler or your beer. So it's awesome.
I mean, let me tell you something. If you want a humbling experience, now I've been home brewing, and honestly, Jim, obviously I'm going to bring you a show T-shirt, but I'm going to bring you a 4-pack of my cranberry sour that I did for this fall.
Oh, love sour.
Yeah, and it turned out well. Otherwise, I wouldn't have mentioned it. But if anyone who is a beer connoisseur wants a humbling experience and they haven't brewed yet, brew once. Watch what happens.
Yeah.
You'll get humbled very quickly. And so when you walk into Turkey Hill and you see these vats and you meet Andrew smiling and shining at the door like he always is, and you say, hey, could I see this? You stand next to this, and it's so massive. And if you bone up a batch, you're out so much money. Like, it's such a process. And if you screw up a dish, Jim, in the kitchen, you use your kitchen mouth, you throw it out, you fire it again. If you bone a 500-gallon batch of beer, I don't want to be that guy. I don't want to own that mistake ever.
Luckily, we've only had to do that twice, and it was one of our, this was 7-8 years ago, but one of our first couple brews, and actually one that we thought we fucked up, ended up being one of our better porters.
Oh, beautiful! I love it. Love it.
Yeah, like we actually replicate it to this day.
That's beautiful. Isn't that the beauty of food and drink too? Like, if you think you're gonna fuck something up, oh wait a minute, it's really good. Do it again.
Yeah.
I forget how to. I think I screwed up.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
All right. So obviously the pairing aspect of food, you want to run with. Talk to me about a trend that's in place that you want to just put a sawed-off 12 gauge to its head and just blow it away.
Wings.
What?
Wings. Right.
I'm sorry, Jim. I'm gonna have to hang up. I gotta go. I gotta go. I gotta go. Bye. All right. I will literally give you 30 seconds. Why wings? That hurts. God damn it! Ow.
Well, because there's so many bad ones out there.
All right. Oh, no. That's fair.
Nobody cares anymore.
That's fair.
Nobody cares about them anymore. Like, all they're doing is, putting hot sauce on them and whatever. Come on.
No, listen, okay. All right, we're cool. I'll still be by with the shirt and the 4-pack tomorrow. I agree.
I love wings, but I wish that wasn't, a reason you go out.
No.
I wish there was something else. I wish it was duck confit or something,
And see, I agree with that totally. I agree with the cooking liquid with which you prepare the wings. Totally messes with you. I did wings in bacon fat.
Yeah.
And it's incredible because it infuses it. Then you sling it in with... Don't just dump... Listen, if you're making wings, I'm sorry, I'm going to sidebar here, Jim. If you're making wings, don't just sludge some Frank's Red Hot on it and call them wings. They're not wings.
Right.
They're chicken. Yeah. They're flightless chicken segments now with an awful sauce that no one's going to want to eat. I have this wonderful indoor smoker which I've smoked wings with.
Yeah.
You put them in the bacon fat first, smoke them, then finish them in a little bit of a like half butter, half red hot sauce. You have a whole different environment. So, all right.
Yeah.
Fair enough. We're still friends. That's great.
I just want people to, care more about their wings.
Totally agree.
Don't
there
buy
you go.
Freaking Applebee's wings.
Yeah. Oh, I'm going to Buffalo Wild Wings. Are you? Do me a favor. Stay there. Don't come home.
Terrible. That's not what it's supposed to be.
Exactly. And just an aside, just because I'm a purist like this, if you're going to make wings and you decide it on a whim on a Saturday afternoon, go buy them fresh. Take your 7-inch chef knife, drag it through a sharpener, enough times to make it sharp, cut the segments yourself. Please, for the love of Christ, do the work yourself. It's so much better than these frozen, liquid salt injected things.
Yep.
Get them fresh, cut them up, do them yourself. Hit the broiler on, get a crisp on the skin. The end.
Amen. So you're going to have me over for wings, right?
Oh, dude, I swear to God, I will make you wings that will melt your face off. You hear it? Here it is. You heard it here first, November 12th. I'm making Chef Hahn wings at my house. We're not telling you the address or the time or the date. You're going to have to guess.
Right on.
We'll broadcast live, though. So obviously, God, looking back at the questions already, from front to back, Jim, I mean, you've done some serious hardcore culinary shit in this area that really, I don't think appreciates it the full range that it should most times. But those of us that do, I mean, we stand in basic awe of what you do. I mean, there's no question. What you do is art, is beauty, is awesome. Talk to me about the next 5 years.
Well, the next 5 years, that's something I hadn't really thought about. I don't know. I mean, I hope, fine dining has become a weird thing lately, and especially in this area. I don't know if it's because of the financial demographic or what it is, but it's hard to have a fine dining restaurant in this area. So I don't know. I'm back and forth. I want to be more casual. I want to make sure that people feel comfortable coming to our restaurant. I don't want people to think that we're this stuffy place, because we're not. I mean, anybody who's ever met me should know that.
We met over a goddamn beer at 10 a.m. in a parking lot, I think, so that's pretty cool.
But it's hard to get the people into the restaurant. I want to make it more approachable, and that's just going to take me trying different things and working on different price points and doing different stuff, trying different cuts,
Well, I love it. And two, one of the pieces of your bio that stuck out to me, and it really does, because I love tapas culture. Tapas, I think, has a place in this area if it's laid out correctly. And I think, God, if anybody's going to do it, Jim, it's you.
Right. I hope so. Like people, I don't know, I think the word tapas scares people. The owner, like, when I first came back over to the farmhouse to cook, the owner was like, people don't know what tapas is. And I'm like, well, some people do. Mm-hmm. Let's call them small plates. So we call them small plates.
Yep.
And really, we have a couple people who come in regularly every week and just get 2 or 3 small plates.
Yeah.
Which is great.
Yeah.
I love that.
I love that too. Like, you're not always in the mood for, I need my 3 courses, I need a salad, a main, and a dessert.
Right.
Like, I love, one of the greatest things my wife is one of the greatest things in my life. There you go. On air credit. She took me on a driving tour of California for my 40th. And as we were going through, there was a tapas restaurant where we just ordered like 6 things, and they weren't expensive. Like, collectively, they were a meal, but they were fun, and they were small. And the kitchen isn't losing their minds prepping this big, fluffy plate. Like, enjoy little bites. You don't have to gorge yourself. You don't have to feel full at the end of going to a restaurant to have it be a success. Please, for the love of God, stop that mentality.
Exactly.
Enjoy it, and then pair it with some awesome wine that blows your mind. All the better.
Yeah. I mean, one of my favorite restaurants is Tinto in Philadelphia, and that's all it is. It's all tapas. It's all small plates. Totally Spanish, but, you know, like, all small plates comes out when it's done. Not in courses. It comes out when it's done. Yeah. Which is, you know, the way the kitchen wants it.
And you don't have to walk out of a restaurant with a styrofoam clamshell to be successful. Like, stop it.
Exactly.
Stop it. Most of these mains, and Jim, please, for the love of God, correct me here if I'm wrong, most of these mains are like 1.5, if not 2 times what you would typically sit down and eat.
Right.
So why do it? Why spend, oh my God, I can't pay $45 for that. Well, guess what? It's because it's 2 times what you would normally eat, because that's what you've given credence to in the dining culture.
Yeah.
Wow. Jim, you have me angry. I'm not going to lie. You have me angry. It's a righteous anger. I want you to understand that, though. It's a righteous anger. So
it's a healthy anger.
It's a healthy anger. There you go. Very good. Very good. So, so cool. And, you know, I really want to be a local support. And folks in the Bloomsburg area, you know, if you're looking to understand this, if you're looking to maybe have a night out, but not like just go crazy with a big, you know, dinner spread, go out, especially to Turkey Hill, and find out about these tapas, these small plates. It's totally attainable. It's totally achievable. You go out, small plate here, small plate there, and you'll feel so much more full, so much more satisfied with the experience, I think. I really do. Yeah. You know, unless you're going out, and I mean, I'll admit, and Jim, you probably do the same thing, if you know you're going to, like, this awesome Mecca restaurant, you don't eat all day. You're like, oh no, I'm saving my appetite, right? At tapas, culturally, in the European culture, it's at the end of the day, it's like 8 p.m., right?
Yeah.
You know, just plug into it. Jesus, enjoy eating. Stop eating out of necessity, start eating out of enjoyment. So, with that said, fine dining has become a weird thing, and I agree with you, and I hope to see, Jim, that locally you lead that charge into making it a less weird thing, if anything else. So, let's move on into afters here. A little bit more irreverent, a little bit more off the cuff. I am standing in your kitchen. You can pick, whether it's professionally or at home, what music do I hear? Oh boy!
You're probably listening to the Grateful Dead. However, I've been to over 150 Grateful Dead shows, so that's probably what you're hearing. But I go everywhere. I listen to. I mean, in high school, I had dyed white and black hair. You know,
nice.
I was a big fan of The Cure and New Order and all those bands. I don't know. I'm pretty open to most anything.
Love it. Love it.
I've been listening to some alternative country lately, so you never know.
Look at you branching out. Yeah. I love it. I
know, right?
Yeah.
That might have something to do with age.
This is very true. You're going to have to speak up, Jim. I can't hear you.
Sorry.
No. That's also an age joke too. All right, movie.
Okay. Movies. My favorite movie is True Romance.
Nice.
It's a
nice.
very early Quentin Tarantino movie.
Yep.
Miller's Crossing, also, and Donnie Darko.
Love it. I mean, because really, all of this stuff can be playing in the background, too. People always think, oh, there's just music. No, dude. I mean, you can put up on a screen, you don't hear it, but if you've watched it enough times, you see it going through the theater of your mind.
Oh, yeah.
So, speaking of questions that will come back to bite you in the ass, Jim, you mentioned kitchen mouth before, and I haven't asked this question in probably 15, maybe 20 episodes, but you called it out. I'm going to call it here. And typically I ask what the movie rating of your mouth is in the kitchen. The fact that you have that classification, never mind, blowing past that. But I have to ask, what is your favorite curse word or phrase?
I mean, I don't trust people who can't say the word fuck.
Fair enough. Love it. It can be as simple as that. It can be as simple as that. There are, if folks listening, if you listen to about episodes 1 through 30, there are some unique euphemisms and mutilations of the fuck word used in the kitchen that I've never heard in some cases. So
I mean, it's a noun, it's an adjective,
it's everything, right?
Verb, it's everything. You know, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I can work it into almost any conversation.
Oh, exactly. Exactly. We've worked it into this episode. I'm sure I'll hear from my mother. Do you know how many times you said that word, Shawn? No, Mom, tell me. Does that mean you listened to an episode for once? Jesus. Sorry, Mom. Don't mean to guilt you, but maybe listen to your son's show. That'd be nice. All right. Total hypothetical here. You are going to be stranded on a deserted island. And you can bring 3 foods or food type items with you, be they drinks, whatever, and they're an inexhaustible supply, but 3.
Okay.
What would they be and why?
Okay. 3. Okay. Beef cheeks. Sierra Nevada Pale Ale.
Nice.
And mashed potatoes.
See, Jim, I'm going to tell you something. I forget what. So, I have a lot of California people on, and they're like, well, I'll be able to distill the salt from the salt water. Maybe I'll have a fish and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, all right, cool. Like, my knee-jerk reaction, as with most of my East Coast brethren, my answer on episode 20 when my wife interviewed me was beef, bourbon, and beer. Because, like, where am I going? I'm stuck in this island. I want to at least go happy. That's refreshing to hear. So, I have to ask, though, beef cheeks. Why specifically beef cheeks?
Oh, they're so good. You braise them for 5 or 6 hours. They're so good.
And you've got nothing else to do on the goddamn island, right?
It's meat butter.
Again, the return of meat butter. That could be a horror movie, actually. The Return of Meat Butter.
The Return of Meat Butter.
So I have to ask, have you heard of Melanie Denea's My Last Supper?
No.
All right. So Melanie Denea is this world-class photographer. Fantastic. And she did 2 books. She did My Last Supper and The Next Course. And in each book, it's very much a coffee table book. Big book. And 50 world-class chefs with a beautiful picture taken of each and the same questions asked of them. And they all center around, and you've been in the food industry long enough, you know where this is going. Your check is getting punched tomorrow. What's your last meal? Who's there? What's playing? What are you drinking? So, with that said, Jim Hahn, talk to me about your Last Supper.
My Last Supper. Montrachet. It would be definitely a Chardonnay from Montrachet. Food-wise, gosh, I don't know. I mean, Dover Sole.
Nice. Now, done proper tableside?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably. Dessert, I'd probably just want a creme brulee.
Nice.
You know, something like a really good, like, traditional creme brulee.
Nice.
Can't go wrong.
Nice. After, beverage, cheese tray.
No. Cheese, I mean, I love cheese, but I like more of the meaty cheeses, like the English cheeses.
Nice.
I'm not a big fan of blue cheese at all, for whatever reason.
Really?
Can't do it.
Ooh.
Yeah, can't do it. I appreciate that people love it.
Yeah.
And I cook with it all the time. And right now we have a filet mignon with a gorgonzola cream sauce on our menu, but I wouldn't touch it.
Really? Oh my God.
Yeah. Can't do the blue cheese. Can't do the blue vein cheeses. Can't do it.
God, I thought we weren't cool with the wings, and now we're definitely not cool. I don't know what to do with
I know. I don't know what it is. I just can't do it. No, definitely,
acquired. And I mean, musically,
I appreciate that people like it.
Yeah.
I understand why people like it. It's not my thing. Not my thing at all.
Right on. How about musically at your Last Supper? If you could have any band playing anything, who would it be?
Oh, damn.
Grateful Dead with Jerry
Gosh.
reunited?
Yeah.
Nice.
If Jerry were alive, maybe. No, I don't know. Actually, Miles Davis. If I could have Miles Davis at my Last Supper, that'd be great.
Beautiful. I love it. And I can't believe I'm going to ask this. Last question. Simplest and yet most complex. Chef, what is food to you in a single word?
Art. It really is just art to me. Like, it's, I couldn't make it as an artist or a writer, but with food, I feel like I can,
Love it.
It's my thing. Love it.
And for any of you sitting there going, yeah, but you could live without art. No, you can't. No, you can't.
No,
you can't.
Can.
We tried it. That's called the Dark Ages. It didn't work out well for anybody. So
exactly.
Look that stuff up on your Googlepedia. So art. I love it to death. And Jim, man, wow. Thank you so much for just a solid time this evening. I know you're a busy cat, and I really appreciate the time you gave us here tonight. Farmhouse at the Inn at Turkey Hill, 991 Central Road in Bloomsburg, PA, 17815-570-387-1500. You can reach them at theinnatturkeyhill.com. They are on the Insta, the Facebook. They're all over the place. So, and certainly you can reach out to Jim too if you're a fan of the fair and you love it to death. Be sure to reach out and let him know. There's just a fantastic talent in a fantastic area, and you should really come out and check it out, man. The Farmhouse at the Inn at Turkey Hill, as well as the brewery at Turkey Hill. So, Jim, again, I can't thank you enough, buddy.
Thank you. I'm honored.
Thank you so much, man. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been episode number 87 of the Coarse Grind Podcast. With me this evening, the phenomenally talented Chef Jim Hahn of the Farmhouse at the Inn at Turkey Hill. Our producer this evening has been Johnny Leland Robinson, a.k.a. the Reverend Johnny Lamoria. Be sure to check out all his libertarian, erotica, and steampunk happenings in the 18431 Honesdale area. Next episode will be the Double Eights, 88. Be sure to check it out. Stay tuned. You gotta be shitting me. You think it starts out special and it doesn't end special? No way. Tony, I'm playing you out, man.
I took a walk through this beautiful world. Felt the cool rain on my shoulder.